This is the John Hallett Podcast, powered by ClearSky.Training. If you're training with us in Castle Rock, Colorado, this is the thinking behind what we do at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness. You know, one of the most common questions I hear, Josh, is how long does it take to get good at self-defense?
I think that was the first question I asked you.
Yeah,
it was
very common. And even, you know, we attract a lot of people that aren't looking for belts, but it is a good way to measure progress. I don't care. I mean, if you don't care about the belt, you know, it eventually turns black, is what happens to that white belt. I don't care, but they still want to know.
Like, how long does it take to get good at it, man? I mean, I think everybody that's coming through the door has kind of peppered me with that question.
Yep. You know, how fast can I feel safe? That's understandable. Mm-hmm. But self-defense isn't something you download. You know, real self-defense is built through repetition, pressure, and time, not exposure. You know, Father Time. You know, what were you saying in the last podcast about time?
Time. Oh my gosh, it kind of answers all. Like, I just forgot now. I don't even have the line, but it's going to kind of measure the basic progress. But you know,
let time do its work.
Let time do its work.
You just got to let time do the
work.
Walk
in the door.
Yeah, let the reps do it.
Yeah. So, you can learn basic skills in a few months, but it takes about a year of consistent training to become reliably competent under stress. You told me that a while back.
Yeah, it's where, you know, I write like, hey, you want to learn self-defense? Well, how long does it take?
Yeah.
You're going to build a decent foundation, you know, in that year. You know, you're just starting to build, you know, it's under construction, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, it's a pyramid. I don't know. That'll sidetrack us. Don't talk about pyramids, Josh. All right. You know, but what does good even mean?
I don't know.
You know, I mean, before answering the timeline, define the standard. Does good mean knowing a few techniques, feeling confident, winning sparring rounds, or staying calm under stress and making lawful decisions? You know, what does it mean? Good at self-defense means recognizing threats early, managing adrenaline, all right, making proportional decisions, right, performing physically under pressure. That takes time, right? We always talk about, you know, proportionality and self-defense. It's a huge thing.
Well, so can I learn self-defense in a weekend then? Can I like show up to like one of those coffee cup seminars and expect to know what I need to know?
No, you can learn information in a weekend, but you cannot you cannot build reliable habits under stress that quickly. I always say, you know, go play pickleball for a weekend and, you know, you're going to forget, even if let's say not even play, you did a seminar of pickleball, right? Never mind, you did a BJJ seminar. You're going to forget like more than half. We'll just be nice. I always like give things 50-50, even though the data shows it's much higher than that. You know, you can GTS that.
It'll shock you.
Greg Nelson from Minnesota Martial Arts, you know, Google that stuff. If you want to dive deeper in there, but you're not going to retain that information in one weekend.
I wish I could.
You know, the first 3 months, you know, you got 90 days of consistent training. Again, how many days a week did you train in there? I constantly say, you know, we have a consistency matters. We have a 1 class per week membership, but if you could double your portfolio, wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
Show up twice and you've doubled your portfolio.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's that whole thing. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but it's consistency.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you're learning foundational movements, you know, you're going to improve your awareness. You're going to build initial confidence. You know, you're going to understand basic responses. Right. That's a big thing. People, you know, you might understand it, but your body doesn't get it. And people want to mentally, right, feel like they know and that they're safe. And, you know, as G.I. Joe used to say, knowing's half the battle. But seriously, and
it's a real statement though. Like,
but in martial arts, just because you know doesn't mean you can do. Right. And people feel like, oh, I know what to do. Not really. You got to let time take it. You've got half the battle, G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
The other half
is like
it's really
like doing it.
It's like 100%.
Long roads.
The first year,
yeah,
this is where things change, right? You've got consistent training.
mm-hmm.
Your reactions become more natural. You've got stress exposure has increased. You've done more training. Decision making improves. Physical conditioning supports performance. You've been moving around.
Yeah.
That helps. We all know just walking around. And your ego is decreasing. A little bit. I was just telling a guy, I'm talking about recovery. I'm like, wait, I got to check my ego all the time and remember I can't keep up with Jordy, one of our coaches, who's in his real prime.
Yeah.
He's super strong, and you're going, well, I could do that. And you got to check your ego all the time, and going, is this the right weights that I should be using?
Right.
And like, all right, check it.
The mind wants to do it, but the body sometimes just can't keep up. So how often should I train to improve then?
2 to 3 times a week is what I would say. Consistency is far more effective than occasional burst of intensity, which sometimes 5 days and then you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've got to be consistent, because I always have said, you miss a week of training, it feels like you've missed 2.
Yeah.
You miss 2, just keep compounding and multiplying that. Yeah. It's like when I haven't done martial arts, in a year, I'm like, oh geez,
man, you've lost so much in that 1 year.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you want to do simple, like, okay, it's like you haven't done anything for 2, if not like 4.
Yeah.
I had a guy in the gym, like, I used to do whatever, I forget what martial art, karate, or it might have even been some law enforcement training 20 years ago. I'm like, oh, that's so long ago. Wow. Like it's time, right? You gotta stay on track, because you're gonna lose everything you've done
so fast. It's so fast.
Back a little bit to that, year. Your foundation is. I just see so much more out of that student. Even sometimes coaches will compare and talk about somebody. Yes, they've been coming for 4 years. And you're, comparing, maybe, like, not comparing, but, using as examples, like, well, look at this person's, bear hug. Hey, they've only been here for a year, and the same thing. Hey, look at that person that, 6 months, and how good they look at 6 months compared to that person that's been doing bear hug escapes for a year.
Yeah.
It's huge, it's not mastery, but they're more reliable, it's, huge. That's why I think, 1 year is really nothing. And again, the older you get, like a year, that's nothing.
Yeah. And it becomes part of your lifestyle at some point,
Well, it's
part of what I do.
Because like that's where you're like, I am, a martial artist. I am a protector, however you want to frame it in your head, that's becomes part of your identity. That, like, I work out, I'm a runner, I do X, Y, and Z. You're identifying, like, I'm a Krav Maga practitioner. I want to be safe. It becomes, like, I just do that. It's like I started working out very young. It's not like, oh, it's a chore. No, that's just something I do. You just do it. On track, why weekend seminars don't work. You cannot compress pattern recognition, emotional regulation, stress adaptation, and muscle memory, quote unquote, into a weekend. Seminars can introduce ideas. They cannot build default behavior. Under stress, you default. Defaults take time, right? And it's, huge. I always look at seminars a lot of times, which is like intro to, Krav Maga. It's just a commercial. You've got to train. It's something I say at my intro seminars. Like, this is just an introduction. If you came here thinking you were going to learn how to defend yourself, you were kidding yourself. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. you are not really, it's another, here's another one I say a
Brutal
lot.
honesty, but it's there. Yeah.
If you haven't done any actual sparring, you haven't done Krav Maga, you haven't done self-defense, you're not a real martial artist. And that becomes with degrees, right? Slow touch sparring, we do a ton of it. But also, as Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get hit.
Yep.
All right. And man,
boys, it change everything.
That's tough.
Yeah.
All right. What long-term training builds is, all right, calm under pressure, restraint, right, legal awareness, humility, all right, consistency. Self-defense is not a finish line. It's a discipline.
Ooh.
Right. And that whole calm under pressure,
That one's big.
People freak out all of the time. I've got to get this. I've got to get that. Like, hey, just relax.
Wow.
Just relax. Are you okay? Can you breathe?
Mm-hmm.
You're alive.
Yeah.
Stop freaking out. But people panic and they feel like they've got to get up as quick as they can. And yes, in self-defense, if you're on the ground, all right, it's a terrible place to be in a street fight.
You bet.
And you want to get off the ground as quick as you can. But this is where Krav Maga students can, blow themselves up because they don't have it. They're like, I got to get up. I got to get up. I got to get up. Yes. But are you okay? Is somebody actually kicking you in the head? Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about protecting yourself and doing less damage.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm on the ground and somebody's kicking me in the head and somebody else is holding me down, do I have an arm to defend those kicks?
Sure.
Or am I making it worse, or am I blowing myself up? Right? Do I have gas in the tank? It was something I said in my Project Fit class yesterday.
Yeah.
I want you guys to go to you have 2 reps in the gas tank. All right, that's where I want you to go. That muscle failure.
Okay.
Right? You've got your technique is still okay, but you feel like the next 2 reps might get a little shaky. And that's where one of my favorite students, Susie, tells me, I always keep my gas tank at a half tank. I'm like, Susie, we will push your car. I will go walk for the gas if you run out. Like, push yourself. And that's that whole mentality thing of can you push yourself there? And a lot of people cannot push themselves to that, or even test themselves of what does it actually mean that I have 2 reps, or even, I have 1 rep left in the gas tank. Guys, if you have 1 rep left in your gas tank in self-defense,
you're in trouble.
It's getting bad.
Yeah.
I would rather have 5 gallons in my tank.
Yeah.
You can't blow yourself up, and you've got to think, am I okay?
Yeah.
But people, they start to freak out. They start chasing things from trap and roll to whatever it may be. And, whatever position they're on the ground. And they just, I gotta.
Sometimes it's okay to let that in.
They're in guard. I got to kick them away. I got to get up. And they're trying to get up too soon. It's being able to slow your mind down. It's huge, right? It's, being a true martial artist is going to keep you safer. And the mind is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of asking yourself, how fast can I get good? Ask yourself, right? Am I willing to train consistently? Am I willing to be uncomfortable? Right? Am I willing to build this the right way? Right? Do you want to check your ego and actually do it the right way? Right? People who get good at self-defense are the ones who keep showing up. I say this time and time again. Some of my best students were the most consistent. They were not the best athlete in the room. I've, seen phenomenal athletes pick stuff up so fast that you're jealous of, oh my God, they get that. But again, the mind gets in the way, or, they can't push past. So they never actually get really good. They had all of the physical attributes, but they didn't have the mental attributes, whatever it is. It's a tough. I think we missed anything on on this and how long it takes to get good at self-defense?
No, but I will just say it takes a while. Get in and train.
Yeah, it's
come in.
patience.
Yeah.
And you know,
Time
just
and effort.
showing up.
Time and effort.
I've seen people like, you're so good. Just
Yeah.
because you just showed up and continue to train. That's what it's all about, you know. Train more, suck less. You know, you really want to be safe. You can fool yourself. Like so much that goes on. You know, you can say whatever you want to yourself. You know, I look good in these shorts, but you don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
We're not talking about you. I haven't seen you in shorts.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, see, exactly. At least you know you don't look good in shorts. I don't look good. I don't like shorts.
I don't wear shorts.
I don't like shorts. My aunts all gave me post-traumatic stress and teasing me when I was a young kid.
Should we do like a short shorts calendar for all the male instructors?
I think it's just going to be you, Josh. But that's
Okay,
I'm sure you will like the full calendar. We can do.
I missed your September.
I think our online store.
No. Yeah. Oh.
I think our online store might have calendars, and we could just do a Josh Sparkle / calendar.
Let's
That's
talk.
an idea.
Let's talk.
Hey, if you would like to see Josh in shorts in a full calendar, I mean, we will show you his hairy chest. We can make some money, Josh.
Let's go home.
Yeah. All right. Josh is going to start. What is that called? OnlyFans.
Let's move on now.
All right. If you want to go deeper on real world self-defense, decision making under stress, and responsible firearms training, everything we teach lives at ClearSky.Training. Clear Sky is where we break down the thinking behind self-defense, awareness, avoidance, judgment, legality, and decisive action when violence can't be avoided. If you're in Castle Rock, Colorado and want hands-on training, that philosophy is put into practice at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness. Thanks for listening to the John Hallett Podcast. Train more, suck less.